Welcome to Next Point Wins. I am your host, Matthew Geely. Iowa versus Iowa State. I'll take Iowa in that one.
Wadley, the tailback. Smith-Marsette in motion. Stanley to throw to the end zone. Touchdown! Iowa wins! Smith-Marsette with the grab.
Louisville, coming off the win against Purdue, is taking on North Carolina. I'm going to take Louisville to keep rolling.
Worked out pretty well with the guy they hired last I checked. Lamar Jackson slings it deep. Oh my goodness, what a pass! Touchdown, Jalen Smith. He made that look easy, throwing that 75-yard bullet.
Georgia against Notre Dame, two ranked opponents. Notre Dame comes in at 25. I'm going to take Georgia.
Restarts. Wimbush hit. Lost the ball. Who's got it? Still free. Georgia looks like they've got it on the bottom of the pile. Bellamy with the hit. Carter in there looking for the recovery. Georgia ball. Ball game.
Stanford in that one over USC.
Second and 9. Garner. And it's caught at the 10-yard line by Burnett. Burnett. Touchdown, SC.
So that is, I'm going to take Ohio State to win that game.
With a home field loss a year ago. This is the 45. This is the 50. Oh, no, he's not. No, he's not going to plant it in the midfield of the O, is he? Wow. Yes, he is. Looks like the Ohio State band has come out of their seats. They didn't like that. There's no one here to defend the O except the band. Wow. But if the Buckeyes in the locker room saw that, they might...
Good morning. Happy Friday, Purdue University, and welcome to Next Point Wins. I am your host, Matthew Geely. Listening to that opening, which, by the way, thank you to the boys in the back for that. Appreciate their hard work. Wish they would have just stopped after the first three picks. That's going to be a weekly thing, I think. We're going to call out my calls and see how I do. So I went 3-2. Not bad, not great. We're going to try to improve that this week, and we'll have my college football picks later in the show. If you want to contact the show, you can at nextptwins@gmail.com. You can also head to my Twitter page, Matt_Geely, Gigli, and vote on the poll question for the day, which is, which football is the most fun to watch? College, NFL, or soccer? We will have the results of that poll question and my own opinion on the poll later in the show. That's all the details that I need to get into. So basically, this poll question stems from the Thursday night game that we had last night. It was the Bengals against the Texans. I watched the whole thing. I stomached through the entire thing. It was really, really hard to watch. It was some really, really bad football, and there's a lot of reasons why it was a bad football game, and I'll go into that right now. First off, let's talk about the Bengals, and we're going to start with their offensive line because their offensive line is horrible. Horrible. They can't run the ball. They have no running game at all. They got Joe Mixon, Bernard, and they can't figure out how to run the ball. And it's obviously not good, and it's not going to get any better until that O-line gets better. Because with Andy Dalton, you have to be able to establish the run, and they've really never been able to do that with him. And because of that, he puts himself in bad situations, 3rd and longs, 2nd and longs, and when you run the ball on first down, you get 1 yard or you lose a couple yards. That makes your offense, it's almost equal to a holding penalty, which they had plenty of those too. Basically, drive killers. When you can't establish the run, you kill your drive. And he has to force the ball. He throws interceptions. He overthrows guys. He gets sacked a ton. So he's always in a hurry, always rushed, and because of that, he looks bad. Now, don't get me wrong, he makes some really bad throws, but he also, he has some weapons on the outside, one being one of the biggest weapons in the NFL right now, A.J. Green, and he still can't get the ball out in time before he's getting hit or rushed or scrambling and throwing the ball away. I have never seen a quarterback throw the ball away so much as Andy Dalton threw the ball away last night. I don't know if the Bengals are a good team. I thought the Bengals would be a better team than this, but now they go 0-2. And on the other side, Houston, huge win. Deshaun Watson credited it or gave it to the city of Houston, which is a pretty cool moment. He played pretty well, especially for a rookie. I think he definitely outplayed Dalton, and most of that was just because of his legs. Only one touchdown in the entire game, so that gives you kind of a hint if you didn't watch the game on how brutal it was. I know we like defense and we appreciate it, but we are entertained by offenses. We're entertained by high-scoring games, people going around making plays, big touchdown passes, big runs, kick returns, punt returns, stuff like that. That entertains the audience, especially your casual football fan. Now, I understand that Houston's a great defense. Their secondary is really, really good. The front seven is also very impressive with Clowney and Watt playing with his broken finger or whatever. I don't know if he's ever not have something hurt that he just warriors through. I'm sure it's broke. I'm sure it probably hurts, but it just adds to the narrative of J.J. Watt being a superhero, and he showed it again last night. He played really well, and if you missed the game, if there's one highlight you need to see, it's probably the last play of the game because it had me laughing for a long time to the point where I was almost in tears. I was laughing so hard. Bengals were on their own 30-some yard line, and they had to go 70 yards in one play. They had 4 seconds left on the clock, and they needed a touchdown to win. And Dalton obviously can't throw it that far, so they did the old throw it 10 yards and then start throwing the ball around and seeing if you can, the miraculous throwing the ball around, making something happen, try to score a touchdown. Well, they start throwing it around, and it's like they start out the set play where he throws it to his wide receiver, and he flips it to another wide receiver, and he throws it back to Dalton. Then Dalton throws it across the field, and then it gets all the way back, and somehow it gets back into Dalton's hands, and now we're going on for about 10 to 15 seconds, so now we're getting to the point where it's time to get the O-lineman involved, and that's when things go horribly wrong because Dalton turns to throw it, and his big center is standing there in the middle of the field wide open, so of course he throws it to him. And I have a soft spot for centers, and it was hilarious. Center catches it right in the chest. He doesn't even have time to take a step. He, turns with the ball, and then J.J. Watt just absolutely creams him. I mean, depletes him. He hit him so... just the impact of two big dudes hitting each other is enough to cause a little bit of a rumble. But these two guys, Watt hit him so hard, the dude left his feet. And I don't know if that kid's ever left his feet in his life. That's how big he is. I don't know his name. It doesn't really matter. I just thought it was really, really funny. And he's just laying there. And it just kind of, who else would you expect to do that but J.J. Watt? That's just kind of his thing. Really, really fun. Houston's offensive line isn't very good either. I think it was a battle of bad offensive lines. Seems like constantly Watson was scrambling in the pocket and trying to get loose and using his feet and throwing on the run here and there. And, it's a Houston team who I think they had 30-some players on IR on their offense. They had no tight ends, no healthy tight ends, 3 healthy wide receivers, one being one of the other better wide receivers in the league, Hopkins. And Watson was able to make plays that normally you don't see rookies make, and part of that was because he could get out of the pocket and still stay composed and deliver the ball down the field. And I think that's just the difference between Dalton's style of play and Watson's. Dalton is more of a drop back, hit the open man. He's got a strong arm. He's got a great arm, and normally pretty good accuracy when he has time, but he just has no time. And when you don't even have to respect the run because it's horrible, you're able to drop 5 to 6 guys back in coverage, and Houston has one of the better secondaries in the NFL, and they made Dalton pay all night long. So that's kind of my reaction from the game last night. And, I don't know if last weekend, Sunday, I watched a lot of football. I had the Red Zone going, watched my Bears play and break my heart, but still played really well. I watched the late games. I saw a lot of Seattle, Green Bay. I thought that was a pretty good game. Green Bay looked really, really good. I think Seattle, they're exactly what I thought. And, I know I picked them to win the Super Bowl and they lose week 1. And I picked the Patriots to go to the Super Bowl. They lose week 1. It's still early. I'm not worried about my picks at all yet. But I think Seattle is exactly how I thought they'd be, and that is their defense is really good, and can their offense score enough points? Because if their offense can get 18 to 24 points a game, they're going to win a lot of football games, and they're going to be very, very dangerous. The problem is they have a hard time getting there, and they have a lot of weapons. That's why I think they're going to figure it out on offense, and I think Russell Wilson is a great quarterback, and because of that, but he can't be taking the hits he took. It seemed like Green Bay was living in the backfield, and if he takes hits like that, he ain't going to last very long, and that's when you're going to have some serious problems. Speaking of teams with serious problems because of quarterback issues, how about those Colts? Yeah, that was fun to watch, wasn't it? I watched, that was the afternoon game of my choice pretty much. I went back and forth between that and the Seattle game, and I just really enjoyed that. I thought that was a really fun game. I thought the Rams looked like the greatest show on turf. Maybe I should have picked them to win the Super Bowl because they made the Colts look like they weren't a football team. Obviously, you have the Andrew Luck injury, which caused most of the problems. But even if he was out there, that offensive line is going to get somebody killed. Bad offensive lines in the NFL. Dallas has a pretty good one. Chicago's is improved. Green Bay's is okay. New England's is all right, except for they had a kind of a rough week 1. I'm trying to think who else has a pretty good Tennessee's is pretty good. So you got some teams who have decent offensive lines, but then you have a lot of teams that have really, really bad O-lines, and the Colts may be the top of the list, and they truly are going to get somebody killed back there. If I'm the Colts, well, first off, what happened to Mr. Irsay saying that Andrew Luck was going to play week 1? I'm pretty sure I saw that tweet, like a lot of other people did. Maybe he didn't get the memo, or was he trying to throw somebody off the scent, or what? But Andrew Luck did not play week 1, and he's not going to play week 2, and I will be surprised if he plays at all this year. I think that this is an opportunity. There's a lot of people out there saying, don't play him, get the number 1 pick, trade it for a bunch of picks and players and this and that. I don't know. Shoulder injuries are tough. I personally had a shoulder injury playing high school football, tore my labrum, and I think that's kind of the same general problem that Andrew Luck's dealing with. And because of that, I can't even imagine playing with a torn labrum. Like, I still go out and try to throw a football or baseball or anything around, and it hurts. And because of that, I can't even imagine. I know it's all different for everybody, but I can't even begin to think that he will be ready to play. He has been ruled out for week 2. And this thinks that he's unlikely to play in week 3. And we're going to talk about the Colts and their head coach, Chuck Pagano, just in a little bit, because he had something pretty funny to say in his press conference after getting whooped by the Rams that I'm going to read back to you, and maybe we'll have a little bit of a chat about how we prepare for teams and whatnot. I'm trying to read here what his specific shoulder injury is. I'm just keep on reading shoulder. So Colts do not look good. I don't think they're going to look any better. It was announced that Brissett's going to start week 2, so it's not going to be Tolzien, which is probably good, but also I think Brissett's a better quarterback, and he just needed a week to get the playbook down and whatnot before he could come into the game, and I would have to imagine that Brissett is a better quarterback. Hopefully he doesn't get smoked. He's a little bit more agile. I think he's a little better on the run, in the pocket, throwing the ball, and he's going to have to run a lot behind that offensive line. So look for him to get the start in week 2 as the Colts are set to face off against Arizona at home. 2 0-1 teams. Arizona losing David Johnson to pretty much a season-ending injury. I'll be surprised if he comes back. They're saying 2 to 3 months, unless Arizona's probably in the playoffs and in the playoff hunt. I don't see him coming back, and that's a big loss for the Cardinals, and I think that is going to be a problem for their running game. I know they re-signed Chris Johnson, and they got a couple of rookies who might step in, but David Johnson's one of the best in the league, and it's really sad to see him go down, especially for any of you fantasy football. David Johnson, first round, maybe first overall pickers. We don't talk about fantasy much on this show, but I'm sure that probably stung a little bit for you. So we're going to talk about, and I'm going to go in a little bit more detail about possible solutions for Arizona in that running back situation, and also just a little bit. So a couple of teases here. We got a lot to cover today on the show. Glad you guys could tune in. If you're listening live on WCCR Purdue in the Tuned In app, welcome, students. Hope you're having a good Friday. It's a beautiful day out there, sunny, 85. Can't really beat it. So thank you for tuning in on your walk home from class or to class. If you're enjoying lunch, I envy you because I'm starving at the moment. But we'll get out of here in about 45 minutes and go take care of that. Also, a lot of buzz going around the campus here at Purdue. Purdue Athletics kind of showing up so far in this young school year. A lot of teams with some buzz around them, and it's fun. It's fun on campus. We're going to go in depth into all things Purdue Athletics towards the end of the show today, kind of give you a recap of what's going on and where you need to be and what you need to see this weekend and in the upcoming weeks. And without further ado, let's go into one of my favorite segments of the show and one of yours as well. Here is unsportsmanlike conduct.
And now, an unsportsmanlike conduct.
Personal foul, number 15, unsportsmanlike conduct.
That's a horrible call!
Here we go, unsportsmanlike conduct for the day. The first one does go out to head coach Chuck Pagano of the Colts. He had this quote to say after the beatdown, the LA Rams, I'm gonna mess that up quite a bit until I get used to it. The Los Angeles Rams, he had this to say: "We got our beep kicked. Let's go paraphrasing here. We got our butts kicked. Got to give credit to the 49ers and their coaching staff and players." Excuse me, Coach Pagano, and why didn't a reporter come back with this? I would have been like, excuse me, Coach, you didn't play the 49ers, you played the Rams. How are you supposed to beat a team if you don't even know who you're playing? Now, I know that's an honest mistake, and I'm sure it was nothing big, but I found it pretty funny. I think it kind of puts a cherry on top to the first week of the NFL season for the Colts and Colts fans. I think Chuck Pagano's probably on a pretty short leash, but, GM Urshay loves him, and I don't know if he should be sticking around very long. So a lot of question marks around that Colts franchise at the moment, but they're going to keep on losing and keep on getting quarterbacks killed, and maybe they'll figure it out here sooner or later. So first on sportsmanlike conduct goes to Chuck Pagano. Do your research, Coach. As reporters and media, we're told to do our research all the time before asking questions. Well, do your research before giving an answer. Second one, and this one, he kind of took the internet by storm, and it had a lot of reaction, both negative and positive, and my unsportsmanlike conduct is very targeted. So my unsportsmanlike conduct goes out to not Sergio Dip, but to people who, I don't know if I would say insulted him, but people who didn't accept the greatness that is Sergio Dip. And if you don't know who Mr. Dip is, he was the sideline reporter during the Monday Night Football game between the Broncos and the Chargers, and they went down to the field to him. I'd never seen him before. I'm pretty sure it was his first time ever, and I can only imagine how nerve-wracking that is. I know he's like 29 years old, so amazing that a kid that young could get that far up to be the sideline reporter at a Monday Night Football game. I can't even imagine that's like a dream come true for me, and I can't imagine how nervous and antsy I would have been doing it. Well, it didn't go as clean for Sergio as I think he would hoped. He did give out an apology, not an apology, but like kind of like a defending himself later that night, a video talking about how it's not nice to make fun of him, and English is his second language. That's important. So he's I think he's fluent. I think his native language is Spanish, so his second language is English, and he gave it his best shot, and I'm going to play you his sideline reporting. Here's Sergio Dip, the greatest human on social media for the past week.
Beth, Coach, it's a pleasure to be with you guys here on the field from up close, just watching Coach Vance Joseph from here. You watch him now on the screen. This diversity in his background is helping him a lot tonight. Quarterback at Colorado, defensive back in the NFL, and here he is having the time of his life. Beth?
Well, I love the enthusiasm, Sergio, and I don't really know what your message was. I think what he was trying to get at was the fact that both coaches on both sides of the field were from a minority, just like Sergio himself. And I think he was trying to make the point that, it's cool that these two guys are on the field having fun. And I don't know if anybody could have named the Broncos head coach before the game. I sure didn't know him. They showed him. I was like, who's that guy? And Chargers same way. So I thought it was interesting that he went that route to start the game. There's a lot of things he could have. And he didn't seem scared. He seemed comfortable with it. And I applaud him for charging through it. Sometimes you get kind of caught up in your words. I've done this before during a game, and you kind of like fumble it, and you either, I've been known to you freeze, like you want to just stop talking. He charged right through, and I appreciate that, Sergio, but not your cleanest effort. And a lot of people, Bob Lee took to his show and said, trolls, quit making fun of him, this and that. And I don't think we should be making fun of him for this, but I think we should just applaud him for the effort, for getting to that stage at such a young age, and for not giving up and just persevering through it. So Sergio Dip, I'm not going to give you an unsportsmanlike conduct. I'm going to give, I guess I'll give it to the trolls of the internet who made fun of him, and I'll give it to people who were quick to like defend and say we shouldn't even be talking about this, because we need to talk about it, because he's a legend now, at least for the next week, and then we'll all forget about him. Next unsportsmanlike conduct goes to Adrian Peterson. And Adrian Peterson, not only do you get unsportsmanlike conduct, but you're going to get a little bit more than that, because you were complaining quite a bit after your first week loss on Monday night. Saints lost that game, and he only got 9 carries from scrimmage, and that did not make him very happy. But I have to ask Adrian Peterson, what exactly did you expect? Because the Saints have Mark Ingram. They drafted a rookie who's great at catching the ball in the backfield. Mark Ingram's pretty good at catching the ball. And Adrian Peterson, you're not exactly known for your catching ability out of the backfield. You went to a team that throws the ball a ton. You have Drew Brees. You have weapons on the outside. Sean Payton's your coach. And their philosophy has always been, and it's no secret to anybody, spread them out, throw the football. And because of that, you draft a rookie who can catch the ball. You have Mark Ingram who can catch the ball, and he can also be a power back for you. So I don't know where you think you fit in, Adrian Peterson, but standing on the sidelines and giving your coach a death glare and then talking about lack of snaps after the game, well, you chose what you chose, and because of that, it's a you problem.
Not my problem, your problem, your problem, not my problem.
Thank you, Dirty Randy. And it's true. I mean, it's your problem. Now, I said on this show last year, during the off season, so it was in season 1, I think around episode 5 or 6, if you want to go back, they're all on YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube page, by the way, Next Point Wins. That's where you'll see all one camera and 4 microphones, 1,000 records, a couple headphones, and a record player that I don't know if it works or not, but it's here. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you will be able to see me live talking. I'll call it a simulcast. I mean, technically they're not both live right now. The video will go up later, but maybe I'm going to call it a simulcast because it's my show. So go subscribe to my YouTube. Go back and check out the episode where I talked about Adrian Peterson in this free agency, and I said I listed teams that I thought you'd be good at, and my number one team, and I still believe it, is Adrian Peterson should be on the Giants right now. Because the Giants are another team that without Odell Beckham Jr., they looked embarrassing against the Cowboys on offense. Cowboys have an improved defense. One of their leading tacklers and got the defensive MVP was Jalen Smith, a rookie linebacker out of Notre Dame and Bishop Lewis High School in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So a local Indiana kid who got seriously injured. If you haven't heard the story, there's stuff everywhere about it. Seriously injured in the bowl game his last year at Notre Dame, and then Jerry Jones took a chance on him in the second round, drafted him. He didn't play at all last year, and now he's out on the field flying around making plays. But that's a Dallas defense that's much improved, but still not they're not superstars yet. I mean, they're young and they're going to get better, and I think by next year they're going to be really, really good. But the Giants looked horrible, and it's another team who could not establish the run. They got Vereen and Jennings, and they still can't figure out how to run the ball, and part of that has to do with their offensive line. Eli Manning was getting crushed. But I think Adrian Peterson would have been a great fit on the Giants, and I'm not sure that Adrian Peterson stays on the Saints this entire year. If I'm him and his agent, I'm calling the Giants and I'm calling the Cardinals right now. We talked about the Cardinals earlier and the fact that David Johnson's out for the year. They're looking to fill that hole, and Adrian Peterson would be a great fill for it. And I think Adrian Peterson would look great in a Giant uniform as well. I don't know short term if he would get traded, it'd look bad for Sean Payton, it'd look bad for Adrian Peterson, but we'd all get over that in no time. So I don't know if he got 9 carries. How many do you want? Because if you want 15, you're not going to get it ever on the Saints unless they're up big and they're trying to kill clock or they're forcing the ball to you. But I think that 10 to 12 carries is your ceiling with the Saints, and I know that's not enough. You want 15 to 20. Well, you're just not going to get that with this offense. So it was no secret when you signed with them. I don't know if you expected them to change their entire offensive philosophy, but if you did, they didn't, and they won't. So you got to figure it out. But I'm giving it unsportsmanlike conduct for you for complaining, because I hate athletes who complain, especially over playing time. If you want to play more, do more. And with those 9 carries you got, you didn't do much because they don't run the ball very well. Last but not least, unsportsmanlike conduct. Still sending out thoughts and prayers to people affected by Hurricane Irma. I sat down a lot on Sunday and watched a lot of the coverage. It was really like jaw-dropping and earth-shattering stuff, just seeing that eye of that storm come in. And there was one specific reporter from the Weather Channel that really caught my attention, and he had me concerned for him at the beginning. Then he had me rooting for him, and then he came back out for a comeback, and he did great. He was just off to the east of the eye of the storm. His name is Mike. We all called him Mike from the Weather Channel because the host back in the studio just kept on saying, Mike, you all right? Mike, you there? Well, I have some audio of Mike when he was fighting the strength of the storm, and we'll play that for you right now. It's important to note that he's out here. He's in a rain jacket with a hood on. He's got his storm glasses. He's got a mic. Yeah, Mike has a mic. That's correct. And his cameraman and crew are in a car. So that way, the video is pretty good because the camera is shielded by the car from the rain. And you got his whole crew in there. And, I mean, it says he's in Naples, Florida, and at the moment, they're having gusts of about 135 miles an hour. And this lady in the studio just keeps asking if he's okay and telling him that he's not in the eye and you're just missing it and trying to give him information. And, I mean, it doesn't take a genius to see that he's not okay. He's struggling and he's fighting this wind and rain. And I can't imagine how that feels, that rain hitting you in the face at 135 miles an hour. But she just has to keep asking, Mike, are you all right? And then finally, we get an honest response from Mike. And here it is.
Landfall necessarily. The angle of approach can make all the difference. And a storm that's more parallel. Oh.
Hey Mike, how are you guys doing out there? Be honest. We can let me know if you need a second.
That hurt. I'll admit that hurt.
Yes. All right. Let's take it from here in the studio, guys.
Yeah, that hurt Mike. Mike got hit on that one. You can just see, you can look up just YouTube Mike from the Weather Channel. That hurt, and there's videos everywhere of it. But he got hit right in the face with some rain, and it didn't feel good. Mike was shaken up for a minute. He went back to the car and kind of stuck his head in the window and tried to collect himself. But the unsportsmanlike conduct, first off, it's going to go to the lady in the studio who didn't have the guts to go out there herself and fight this storm. And you're going to get one because obviously he's not doing well. You keep asking him how he's doing. He's not doing well. You're kind of downplaying what he's doing because you keep on telling him that he's not in the eye of the storm. It almost makes it sound like that, like, Mike, what's the problem, man? You're not even in it, which he is. He's getting the crap beat out of him. And the second unsportsmanlike conduct, unfortunately, is going to go to Mike because, Mike, I contacted you quite a few times on the Twitter sphere trying to see if you want to come on the show for a quick interview. You're an internet sensation. We here at Next Point Wins love you. And no response. And no comment from Mike. So, Mike, unsportsmanlike conduct, that's a you problem, Mike. That you don't want to come on the show? That's a you problem for sure.
That sounds like a you problem. Later.
Yeah, that sounds like a you problem. That's right. Come on the show, Mike. We'd love to have you. You're huge here. You're killing it in West Lafayette and at Purdue. So that is it for unsportsmanlike conduct. Send in yours next week. Love to feature them on the show. nextptwins@gmail.com. We're half past the hour here, and we're going to just transition quickly into some college football because we have some pretty good games this weekend. I wouldn't say it's the greatest slate we've had. I thought last week they had more competitive games on the slate, but there's still a couple that caught my eye, and we're going to talk about those right now. The first one, speaking of Florida, they're back in action against Tennessee. They're playing that game in Gainesville. So, first game back after Hurricane Irma for Florida. And I'm going to take Florida. I think they're going to come out with a lot of energy. I love their quarterback. And I got Florida winning that one. They got beat pretty good by Michigan in week 1, and they didn't play last week. So, I think that it's a bounce-back game. They got a week off. I'll take Florida over Tennessee. Number 2, LSU at Mississippi State. Man, my first 2 games feature 2 Purdue quarterbacks. I think is Appleby still at Florida? That's a good question. I'm gonna look that up. I know Etling is still playing for LSU, and that is game number 2. I don't remember if it's Appleby or not. No, it's not. Okay. Oh, that's right, because they got Luke Del Rio, Jack Del Rio's son, and they got Felipe Franks. I don't know who that even is. And then Malik Zaire, that's the Notre Dame kid who transferred to Florida. So Appleby is no longer there, but I definitely know Etling is still at LSU. And I'm going to take LSU to beat Mississippi State. Looks like Florida's going to have a new quarterback starting for them this week. It's going to be Felipe Franks. And they're not. It says Gators are not worried about the effects of missed game. That's from SEC Country. So thank you, SEC Country, for that quick little tidbit. So yeah, Florida over Tennessee, and then I'm going to take LSU over Mississippi State. Third game, and I think the best game on the slate. Well, I'm biased. It's the second best game on the slate. For most other people, it'd be the best game on the slate. It's Clemson at Louisville. Louisville looked really good last week. That was a great pick for me. But I'm going to jump off the Louisville bandwagon and hop on the Clemson bandwagon. I think Clemson wins that game on the road. It's going to be a cool environment. I think that's an afternoon. That might be. That's the primetime game on ABC. So tune in for that one. Clemson over Louisville is my pick. Next game, Texas getting 15 points at USC. Most of these games, if you check out the spread, I'm picking kind of with that. So I don't give the spread for every game, but like if let's get an example. I'll wait for my example because it's my next game. But for this one, Texas getting 15 points at USC. If you're not a gambling person or know what that means, it means Texas is favored to USC. Is favored to win by 15 points. So if Texas wins, or if they lose by 15 or less, it's a push or a Texas win. I don't think I made that super confusing for you, but you get what I'm saying. I'm taking Texas and the points to knock off USC. I think that Texas might win that game outright. Yeah, that's right. Why do I say that? I guess I don't really know. Their offense is pretty strong. I think USC has too much hype. I think that Sam Darnold, the quarterback, he's good. I don't know what they got around him. And Texas seems to always show up in big games like this. At least play people close. I don't see USC blowing them out, and 15's a lot of points. So give me Texas. And last but not least, the biggest game on the slate, your Purdue Boilermakers at Missouri. Boilers travel to SEC country to take on Missouri. That game will be at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday. I haven't heard of any watch parties. I know Harry's probably has a watch party and all the other Jakes and whatnot on campus. These Boilers deserve your support. They deserve you watching because they went out last week against, I would say, one of the better teams in like the second or third tier of teams. I mean, Ohio favored to win the MAC this year, runners up in the MAC last year. I mean, I know it's Ohio and it's still Ohio and it's Ohio, but still not a horrible team, and it's a game that Purdue needed to win after a good showing against Louisville at Lucas Oil Stadium. They needed to come out and like plow through that barrier and get the W and show that this team was not a fluke after week 1. That's exactly what they did. I thought they played well from start to finish. I had the pleasure, my job last week during the game was pretty cool. Purdue has one of the, in my opinion, the best PA guy in the game. He does basketball, and he does volleyball, and he does football, and his voice is awesome. It's like the greatest voice ever. Well, I got the pleasure of being his spotter, so basically I had binoculars, and I had to tell him how long the catch was for, down and distance, who made the tackle, who was targeted on the reception, who ran the ball, who's in at quarterback, who's the kick returner, who's the punt returner, who's kicking the field goal, who's kicking the extra point. So basically I was saying to him everything that he was repeating into the mic, which was a really cool experience because I got a really nice seat to the game. He was super fun. We had a lot of fun, and that was awesome. Well, Boilers came out and they played hard. It sounds like TJ Jallo is up in the air to play tomorrow. Marco Jones sounds to be less than likely available to play, so they'll be without him. But Tario Fuller ran really well, and Knox looked really, really good as well. So I think that if we can establish the running game again And it sounds like both quarterbacks are going to play. Both Blau and Sindelar will play, which I think is an interesting dynamic. I think Blau probably starts this one, just a guess. I think he earned it. Sindelar did not play bad at all. He kind of got the bad luck of, we had some really, really, really bad drops in the first quarter where I think I counted 4 in the first quarter where guys were wide open and just couldn't catch the ball. But that happens. So he kind of got the short end of that straw, and Blau came in, and he just has like a moxie about him. I know he has a turnover problem, and a lot of times he gets caught turning the ball over, but I think the offense just looks a little crisper with him in there. I think both quarterbacks are really, really good. And, you know, you've heard the saying, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one good one. Well, I think this might be a situation where we truly do have 2 guys who are able to get the job done. So if we can limit turnovers, keep getting turnovers, I think that we could go into Missouri and shock some people. And because of that, I'm going to take the Boilers, and I'm going to say we're going to win by 14 points. So book it. Boilers by 14. Those are my college picks of the day. And we'll recap those next week on the show during the show open. Also, interesting note from Missouri, I forgot to mention, they just fired their defensive coordinator. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic without a defensive coordinator. Well, they obviously have somebody in place now, but it'd be interesting to see how that shapes up. And I actually had I should tell you guys about this. This week in work, yesterday, Thursday, I was able to go and get a tour of that new football complex we have here. Tell you what, really, really nice. Like, crazy nice. I'll kind of give you a Spark Notes version of what I saw and what I did. So you walk in the front doors, and it's like the biggest weight room I've ever seen. And you got the overall theme of the story is flat screen TVs, because you can't even like turn without seeing one somewhere, or 3 or 4. I mean, just everywhere. Super nice equipment, brand new. There's like this, maybe just because I was a lineman, this is kind of cool to me and not to anybody else, but I'm still going to share it. Like, they have like 5 sleds. Like, you know how, I'm trying to think of, like, in The Blind Side, you see the kid on the back of, they call it a sled if you don't know what it is, and the lineman hit it, and it slides, and it's supposed to work on firing off the ball and shooting your hands and getting extensions, whatnot. Well, they have like 5 of those lined up inside this weight room on like an incline, and you can put plates, like weights, on the side, and like the offensive lineman, defensive lineman can work on firing off the ball and shooting their hands and like driving it up an incline to the wall and then back down. Crazy. Never seen anything like it. It was the coolest thing ever. I mean, I looked at that thing for like a good 5 minutes. Like, I couldn't believe it. I really wanted to hit it, but I was in work clothes and people were around. I didn't want to look dumb, but I really did want to give it a shot and see what it felt like. But I'll be back. Definitely. I'm going back in there. And then at the back of the weight room, they got like this juice bar, which is sweet. And they had like bananas and bagels and bread, and you can make toast. And then they had smoothies, and they had a Gatorade fountain, and they had a fridge with like Uncrustables and juices and milk, just anything you could possibly want. Protein bars and energy bars and vitamins and supplements and protein, and it was awesome. It was the coolest thing ever. And then you go, and then like it's 3 stories high, and there's views everywhere of everything. It's super, super nice. They got like a theater room. They got like a place for players to hang out. Their locker room was super, super cool. There's videos, Purdue Football on Twitter, PurdueSports.com. There's a video of when the players first walk into the new locker room, and they kind of show around. Like, they got their nameplates all lit up, and it's huge, and you got your own locker. You can plug in an aux cord and play music in your locker. It was awesome. Really, I mean, it's amazing. They had pools and training tables. Let's just say if I was a recruit, there's no place I'd rather be. I mean, it just looks so impressive. And you go around to some of these big-time program universities, and they all got stuff like this, and it's cool to see Purdue. I mean, we're now in the same running as a lot of the other big-time programs as far as, I mean, they did a really an amazing job with every single detail. I mean, the graphics on the walls, the nameplates, every single Purdue iconic photo, quote, saying player, it's somewhere huge on a wall in this place. And if you ever get the chance to come down and get a tour of it, I strongly recommend it. It was a pretty fun day at work, I'm not going to lie. Kind of sticking to the Purdue theme of the segment, Purdue soccer beat Michigan last night 1-0. That was in Ann Arbor. It was the first time ever the women's soccer team has won at Michigan. And it was the first game of the Big Ten season. They get off to a great start. Goal was by Kylie Haas in the 83rd minute. No relation to Isaac Haas, I might add. Her last name is spelled different, but it's pronounced the same, Haas. She's a midfielding freshman for Purdue. She leads the team in fouls. She's aggressive. She plays hard. And she got kind of a loop pass, kind of fell right in her lap, and she put it home. Purdue's goaltender, Katie Luce, had an amazing game. Huge save after huge save, especially in the second half. And Purdue walked out of there with the win, so they're 1-0 in Big Ten play. Pretty awesome. Volleyball, we kind of mentioned as they were on the road last week, they knocked off a top 10 opponent in Creighton, and then they ended up losing their second match against a top 10 opponent on Saturday. So they went 1-1, and then they won their third match of the day. So 2-1 overall on the trip, but only one win against a top 10 team. They're back home this weekend. You can find them tonight at 7 p.m. at Holloway Gymnasium. They're going to take on Miami of Ohio. That's tonight at 7 p.m. Friday night. And then they're back at action again on Sunday against Loyola of Chicago. That's at 1 p.m. in Holloway Gymnasium. Last two games of the non-conference slate before volleyball cranks it up in the Big Ten. So last chance to kind of work out the kinks and get ready for Big Ten season. If you can't make it to Holloway tonight or on Sunday afternoon, feel free to listen and watch the game. I prefer you should probably watch it and mute it because it's on btntogo.com both tonight and on Sunday, and I will be on the call doing play-by-play. So either turn your volume down or mute it all the way because you're going to hear this beautiful voice once again tonight and on Sunday, if I still have a voice by Sunday. I can already feel the voice kind of going right now, so hopefully after the show we have some time to regroup before tonight. So catch the action there, and appreciate in advance anybody who has the time to tune in. I know they've got a lot of high school football tonight around the state and around the country, but Sunday if you're just laying around the house, maybe flip it on. BTN Plus, btntogo.com. It's a BTN Student U production of Purdue Volleyball. Kind of switching gears here. We get down to about 15 minutes left in the show. I want to talk about baseball because there's a story right now in baseball that you should know. It's not very often at this time of year that we get a baseball story. I mean, under 20 games left in the season, getting ready for playoffs. Normally this is kind of the lull where teams are starting to clinch and magic numbers are being displayed on the screen, and you don't really care about baseball. You're worried. Football just started, so you're really into that, and you still have some NBA offseason stuff going on. You got lists coming out, which I'm not even going to get into that ESPN list that athletes are complaining about where they are ranking Melo being below Lonzo and stuff like that. I don't care, and you shouldn't either. I think off-season lists of any sort are stupid. I think lists in general can be pretty dumb. But there's a story right now in baseball that if you don't know it yet, you're crazy, and you need to start investing yourself into it. And as soon as I say that, it's going to come to an end. But Cleveland, 22-game winning streak. If anybody's out there has seen the movie Moneyball, that was the old record in the AL for most wins in a row. They smashed that record, and now it belongs to the Indians as they've won 22 straight. If you didn't catch the game last night, it was a good one. It had the Indians trailing in the ninth inning by 2-1, I think. What was that final score? They were trailing, I know that for a fact, and their stud shortstop Lindor comes to the plate, and he delivers the single that they need. Yeah, it was 2-1 to tie the game at 2, and then in the 10th, Big Jay Bruce sends one down the line to score the winning run, and Cleveland walks off in 10 innings to beat the Royals 3-2 to extend the win streak to 22 games. 22-game win streaks in any sport are impressive. We saw the Blackhawks a couple years ago with the point streak that went into historic amounts. You've seen LeBron win so many games in a row. You've seen the Patriots go undefeated until the Super Bowl against the Giants. That was the year of the David Tyree catch. So, streaks aren't, they happen, and it's not extremely rare to see a team go on a streak. But in baseball, to play every single day, day in and day out, you got 5 guys rotating through as starting pitchers. You got a bullpen who's getting used depending on how long the pitchers can go. I mean, thankfully, the Indians have an ace in Corey Kluber who's been able to go deep into games to save that bullpen because you got You got Allen at the back end, the closer, who's getting work. He's yet to blow a save, which, I mean, in the streak, for a closer to go 22 games, he didn't pitch in every game, but he has like 2 wins and 6 saves. 6 saves in a row is hard. I mean, you see guys blow saves all the time, and the fact that he's been so solid for them is amazing. Their offense comes through night in and night out, and nights like last night where they don't exactly explode for runs, their starting pitching and bullpen are able to keep them in the game late so they can make a play. It's pretty cool they're doing it at home right now. I saw a stat this morning on SportsCenter. It was pretty funny. I don't remember the amount of days, but it was like 2,000 and some days. It's like 2,783. I think it's right around there. That's the number. Days equals Browns winning 22 games. So the Browns had to wait 2,000 days in order to win 22 games. And Indians did it in 22, which is pretty crazy. So, I mean, just kind of shows the difference in the two teams in Cleveland. But they go again tonight against Kansas City, and that's in Cleveland, and that game starts at 7:10. So if you have nothing to do and you decide you don't want to watch me on BTN Student U, I get it. At least keep an eye on it. If you're watching on a game tracker or something, keep an eye on it because it's history. And it's not very often that we get to witness history, and it's going to be Trevor Bauer of the Indians against Jason Vargas of the Royals, who got out to a strong start earlier in the year, kind of being considered for Cy Young after I think he went undefeated in like his first 10 or 11 starts, and then he's really fallen off now. He's 15-10 with a 4.15 ERA. So Indians could put some runs on the board tonight, and Bauer's been pretty good of late. He's 16-8 on the year. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. And you get to the point now where if you're the Indians, do you start resting some guys? Because you're just about locking up the division now after, I mean, you went 22 games in a row this late in the year. It's crazy. So they're going to go for 23 tonight. Keep an eye on it. History's fun to watch, and it's one of those things that this is going to be a record that I think will hold for a long time. I mean, the Moneyball A's lasted for a pretty good amount of time, and the longer this goes, the longer it lasts. Great movie, by the way, except for there's some glaring issues with that movie that I don't really want to get into, but I kind of feel like I have to. They really they highlighted a few players on that A's team, that the first baseman and the catcher who had the bad knees that I can't think of his name right now. Oh, it's going to kill me. But anyways, they highlighted a few guys, but they forgot about that Moneyball team, their starting rotation was insane. They were young, but they were so good. I think Barry Zito was on that. You had, I'm looking right now. I'm gonna find it right now. Here we go. Tim Hudson, Barry Zito. Chad Bradford, the reliever. See they highlighted Chad Bradford out of the pen when you had guys like Barry Zito and Tim Hudson and Ted Lilly. I mean, some really, really good players in that pitching rotation. I mean, Zito went 23-5 that year. Hudson went 15-9. Crazy. Ted Lilly didn't even play much. He went 2-1. He was out of the bullpen back then. And then Scott Hattingberg. That's what I'm trying. Scott Hattingberg, the catcher who was transformed into the first baseman in the movie. I mean, yeah, he batted 280, which is strong throughout the year. But you had a guy on the team named Miguel Tejada, who he batted 308. You didn't hear about him. You had Frank Machino. He batted 312. Didn't really hear about him much. So it's kind of funny, the guys that they highlighted compared to Eric Chavez, didn't hear about him. I mean, some good players on that team. Jermaine Dye, I think we saw a clip of him, but they didn't really mention him much. So very interesting, that Moneyball team. But I don't know if they make a movie after the Indians, because I don't know if this is anything special. I don't know if they have an advantage going right now, but nonetheless, really, really, really cool story that should be talked about more. It's not very often you get one in baseball at this time of year. It's one of the top headlines of the day. NFL appeals Elliott injunction to the Fifth Circuit. If you're not a lawyer, neither am I. I've been reading about it this morning, trying to make sense of what it means. Basically, I guess the best way to put it is it's following the exact same path that the Brady Deflategate charges went. So basically, it's being appealed to the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court. So I would say that Zeke is definitely going to play this weekend. I think he's going to be able to play for the next couple weeks. The league wants a ruling by Tuesday, September 26th. So that's 11 days from now. So not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after. So I think that's when the league would like the decision to be made. So he's definitely at least going to play in the next 2 games. And they still got that 6-game suspension over him. I think it gets completely taken away. I don't know if the NFL can swallow their pride and do that, but you can't. Like I said last week, you can't like minimize it and make it 4 games or 3 games, because then you're still saying he did it, but you're saying it's okay now that he did it. Like it's an all or nothing suspension in my mind. Either he did it and you get 6 games, or he didn't do it and he gets no games. But you can't give him 3 or 4. So it'll be interesting to see what that ruling comes out to be after it goes to the 5th Circuit. If anybody's a lawyer out there and wants to tweet in the show and tell me what the 5th Circuit means, that'd be great. I assume it's just a branch of the judicial system. I don't know. Let's take a look at the poll question. Go on Twitter and vote. Podcast listeners, this will be up all day, so if you're listening later today or tomorrow, go online, give me your vote. I'm curious to see how the poll ends up. The question is, which football is the best to watch? And the options are college, NFL, or football, which is soccer. College is in the lead at 60%, and then tied for second is NFL and soccer at 20%. So we're at the point now where we're tying NFL and soccer. For all you soccer voters out there, sorry, wrong show. Not going to talk about it. Don't care. Not a soccer fan. Never will be. You might catch me when the USA competes in a World Cup or something. I might sit down and watch a match. But you're not going to hear me talking about the pitch or their kits or Premier League on Sunday mornings. I don't care. It means nothing to me. So I would have voted college as well. I think right now the product on the field is better in college. I don't know if it's because it's early in the NFL season and teams are still trying to figure it out. But I kind of feel like in the NFL there's a lot of mediocrity. There's a lot of mediocre teams. There's only a couple really, really good teams, and then the rest are like, eh. And I don't think that's good for the league at all. And I think these Thursday night games are hard. You got players, we say it year in and year out, and we still haven't changed it, where it's a short week, you have no time to prepare, you're still sore from the last game, and the product on the field is not good. It's tough to watch. And I don't know if, I get it, follow the money, they make money on these Thursday night games, that's fine. But you have to take with that the fact that it's hard to watch because it's not good football. And last night was not good football at all. A lot of the games on Sunday weren't good football. Hopefully we have a better week of football ahead. Some of the games to highlight in the NFL season, in the NFL week 2. A couple that caught my eye. I thought that Philadelphia at Kansas City is a sneaky good game. That's 1 o'clock on Fox. Philadelphia 1-0, Kansas City 1-0. Second time we get to see Kareem Hunt in action, the rookie running back from Kansas City. He was really fun in the week 1 win over the Patriots. Speaking of the Patriots, they're 0-1, and they're taking on the Saints, who are 0-1. That's in the Dome. Who dat? And that's Sunday at 1 on CBS. So a couple good 1 o'clock games there. Another pretty good 1 o'clock game, Minnesota at Pittsburgh. That's 2 1-0 teams. Minnesota looked pretty good last week. Pittsburgh kind of played around with Cleveland, but took care of business. That's 1 o'clock on Fox. Afternoon games, you got Miami at the Chargers. That's a game. Just Miami's kind of intriguing because we haven't seen them yet. Jay Cutler, first time in action with his new team. You got Jay Ajayi in the backfield. You got Parker at wide receiver. So I think Miami is going to be a wild card, maybe fight for the division type of team this year. So their first game against the Chargers, that's Sunday at 4:05 on CBS. Other afternoon game that's worth watching is Dallas at Denver. I'm sure that's the game of the week for Fox. That's a 4:25 start. Dallas 1-0, Denver 1-0. Denver's defense looked really, really good last week. It'll be interesting to see how they stop the run of Dallas. Dak looked really good last week as well, taking care of the ball. He's really good at managing the game, not making mistakes, making throws when he needs to. So as long as Zeke stays in that lineup and that offensive line stays the way it is, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, especially if the defense can keep playing that well. The Sunday night game is Green Bay at Atlanta. That's a great game. 2 really good teams, both 1-0. Atlanta sneaking by the Bears, and then Green Bay taking care of the Seahawks. It's a tough game for Green Bay. I think that's going to be the first game at the new dome for Atlanta. Sounds like they're going to have the roof open, weather permitting. So it'll be interesting to see how loud they pack that place. I'm sure it's going to be quite a home field advantage. And then you have Green Bay, who comes in 1-0. Aaron Rodgers will be interested to see if he can show some of his magic. And then Monday night is the Lions at the Giants. Lions 1-0. Stafford's first throw with the new contract was less to be desired, but then he turned it around and had a really, really good fourth quarter. Put on a show, getting that Week 1 win. And then you had the Giants, who looked out of place and out of sorts Sunday night against the Cowboys. Eli Manning's going to have to play better. They're going to have to find somewhat of a rushing game. Shepard has to show up. Brandon Marshall should probably come to the field this time. He didn't even get a catch until like 30 seconds to go in the game. That's inexcusable. I don't know if that's more to say about Brandon not getting open or Eli not getting him the ball, but jeez. Odell's now on the field, and you can't get Marshall a target, let alone a catch? Horrible. Really tough to watch. So they're going to have to figure that out. I don't know if Beckham plays. If he does, I don't think it's going to be 100%. They showed that clip before last game of him warming up, and he looked gimpy. Like he's not ready to go yet. So I would probably hold him out if he's not 100%, which I doubt he will be. So I wouldn't play him. I mean, you risk going 0-2, but you can't afford to lose him for a long period of time because if last week's any indication, they are a mess on offense without him. So you got Detroit at the Giants Monday Night Football. Getting to the end of the show here. Going to have to close up shop here real soon. Thanks for listening and tuning in. If you missed any part of the show or missed any part of last week's show or anything that we've covered so far in this season, you can find all of the episodes on YouTube and the most recent ones on SoundCloud. SoundCloud kind of rotates. They kind of shuffle all of my old stuff to the back and move the new stuff to the front. So if you are looking for an old show in the archives, go to YouTube, Next Point Wins on YouTube. You can subscribe to that, and you'll be notified every time I post. Been getting the podcast up just after 2 o'clock every day, it seems, about 2:30, 3 o'clock. So you can look for it there. Anybody out watching high school football tonight, have fun. Enjoy the nice weather that we got here. And hopefully your team plays well and wins. Like I mentioned, we got Purdue Volleyball tonight, 7 p.m., btn2go.com, BTN Plus. I'll be on the call, play-by-play, against Miami, Ohio. You can also catch us Sunday at 1 o'clock against Loyola of Chicago. That's also on btn2go.com. Thanks for all your tweets, votes, messages, emails. We're going to do it again next week, and we'll be talking about, we'll kind of rehash whatever happens in this Purdue-Missouri game. We'll kind of look ahead to next Saturday as the Blue of Michigan come to town. BTN Tailgate will be on campus for that one. It's going to be a afternoon game on Fox, so pretty excited. It's going to be a nice atmosphere. Hopefully the Boilers get the win this weekend, and the buzz is buzzing next week. This has been Next Point Wins. I'm your host, Matthew Geely. Have a great weekend, everyone, and go Knights.
Iowa State. I'll take Iowa in that one.
Wadley, the tailback. Smith-Marset in motion. Stanley to throw to the end zone. Touchdown! Iowa wins! Smith-Marset with the grab.
Louisville, coming off the win against Purdue, is taking on North Carolina. I'm going to take Louisville to keep rolling.
Worked out pretty well with the guy they hired last I checked. Lamar Jackson slings it deep. Oh my goodness, what a pass! Touchdown, Jalen Smith. He made that look easy, throwing that 75-yard bullet.
Georgia against Notre Dame, two ranked opponents. Notre Dame comes in at 25. I'm going to take Georgia.
Wimbush hit, lost the ball. Who's got it? Still free. Georgia looks like they've got it on the bottom of the pile. Bellamy with the hit. Carter in there looking for the recovery. Georgia ball. Ball game.
Stanford in that one over USC.
2nd and 9. Garner. And it's caught at the 10-yard line by Burnett. Burnett. Touchdown, SC.
So that is, I'm going to take Ohio State to win that game.
With a home field loss a year ago. This is the 45. This is the 50. Oh, no, he's not. No, he's not going to plant it in the midfield of the O, is he? Wow. Yes, he is. Looks like the Ohio State band has come out of their seats. They didn't like that. There's no one here to defend the hour except the band.
Wow.
But if the Buckeyes in the locker room saw that, they might